Uh-oh. We live, baby. I feel like you want me to look at you. I don't know. That's what we've been waiting for. The debate, the end all debates. I'm so excited. In this left-hand corner, we got Joey Crack, a.k.a. the Bron-tificate fan. What? On my right, we have Busy, the Jortastic front runner. And what we will be talking about today is none other than the debate that's been going on for years and will continue to go on for years. Is who are you taking as your GOAT? Is it Bron or is it Jordan? All right. We got some ground rules to lay down.
You say that this is a debate to end all debates and it's going to go on for years. I feel like if it's done correctly, this should end the debate.
Oh, no, it's still going to happen. It's still going to happen in barbershops, still going to happen at bus stops, it's still going to happen in playgrounds, classrooms, lunch tables. We're going to see what we can get through today, but we're going to make a valid attempt, all right? Joey Craig, you got anything you want to say?
Do we want to go, like, over our quick, like, intros on, like, our background, like, why we're choosing this person first, or do you want to...
No, because I don't want to leak any information as we go into our preliminaries, all right? Okay. Just tell the people who you are right quick.
I was going to say, I mean, it's your boy, the 5XL assassin, the diabolical diabetic, and I'm coming here right now to let you know why this debate has been over for quite some time, because, like, what we're debating is the greatest player of all time. That's it. Not your favorite, not this, not that. It's like, who is the best? If you could have any one player, who would you do it? And to me, that's LeGoat James, GM. To the point that, like, you know, I feel like, you know,
oh, he took off the cap.
I know that's not.
This brother's tripping.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's
like the Miami one too. Well, you ain't got the LA one. All right, Brandon, you got anything you want to say?
Yellow and purple don't touch my.
Tell the people who you are.
Brandon, aka B Mezzy the Prince, licensed social worker out here saving lives.
Hey,
and about to end a life right now.
John Wick don't come out with this man already got something in the chamber. All right, so preliminaries right quick. All right, we got a few topics that we gotta address. Right, I'll bring up the topics. Each person will get their own 2 minutes to talk. All right, then after they have their first initial 2 minutes, they will have a chance to cross-examine any information that's been shared. All right, y'all see this little blue rag on my hip, right? This is my flag on the play. Flag on this brother's tripping. This is tripping. This is flag on the play. All right. So these guys are allowed to make whatever faces they want. They can say whatever they want to say. But if somebody gets to talking over somebody else, it's flag on the play. All right. They're gonna have to sit there and listen, and another minute gets added to that person's time for them to deliberate and talk about whatever they want to say about their homie. All right. We got
someone's already in the chat.
We got what we got here, bro. This is Brandon from the BH units. Okay.
That young Fredo?
young Fredo. All right, so, hey, listen. The only thing that will damage someone's day is if they get technical fouls, all right? If you get egregious and you seem like you're not following the rules or the preliminaries, then you will get a technical foul. Just like Rasheed Wallace, you get 2 techs, you go into the penalty box for 3 minutes. All right.
Don't lie.
And while you're in the penalty box, you are not allowed to deliberate anything. You are not allowed to argue anything. You actually have to agree with whatever your opponent is saying, and that hurts. So we want to make sure we don't get no technical fouls. I don't have to throw no flags. We got 2 nice gentlemen here, but you know, once I've seen this debate go on before, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna get, you know, a little interesting. All right. So without further ado, what we'll do is you know, shout out the homie Garvin Headley. Go ahead, you do that right quick because you do it so well.
Gotta shout out our boy G Head over at Custom Merch, which you can find over on IG and Etsy. If you go to Custom Merch on IG and Etsy, type in the promo code Heavyweight Bros, spelled HW8BROS. It'll save you 10% off your order because the more you spend,
the more you save. B-Man, since you're the visiting representative to the pod, not to the crib, because you know you family here, we're going to allow you to call it, okay? So you got the custom merch side or you got the Etsy side, all right? Which side you want, Etsy or custom merch?
Etsy, go first.
That man said he could go for this one like battle rap right now.
Okay.
All right. We gotta get right to it. All right. Topics. All right. So our first topic is era of basketball. All right. So we know these two gentlemen came up in two different eras. Jordan was predominantly the 90s, early 2000s. Bron's was early 2000s until now because he's been playing as long as Egyptians have been writing on walls, right? So it is two different eras of basketball. Some say defense changes. Some says shooting changes. The athlete is different now, but we'll see. We'll see because it's left up to these men, all right? So they'll both get 3 minutes on the clock. Joel, your time starts now.
Okay. So if we're going to talk about eras of basketball,
okay,
I feel like whenever anybody immediately brings up what rules we playing with, I'm like, all right, you're already out of the game right now. Because the thing is, nowadays, the athletes nowadays could play back then in that era. Would it be more physical? Yes. But they're smarter, they're better, they're stronger, they're faster now. And not only that, the talent pool now is far more substantial than it was back in the day. Back when Jordan was playing and like all this stuff happened, there were 6 expansion teams that happened. And they all just so happened to happen right before Jordan started ringing off all those rings in a row. You know what I mean? It's like not only that, it's like you have Magic Johnson retires, Larry Bird retires. Then it's like they create the Magic, the Vancouver Grizzlies, the Miami Heat, the Charlotte Hornets, and then there are the Toronto Raptors, and there's another team. But it's like all these teams come in and they completely dilute a league that was already weak as it was. So yes, Jordan was a great, phenomenal player. I think he's the second best player of all time. I have no problem saying that. What I'm saying is his competition wasn't as stiff as people make it seem. LeBron's road to becoming the GOAT was a lot more difficult than his was. We could get into like later on just about like how different the expectations were and things of that nature.
Fredo agrees.
So like I think that when people think about that, they think that like the entire era was run like the way the Bad Boy Pistons was knocking Jordan on the ground. It's like that's actually not the case of like how things were happening. The rules were very different. Yes, hand checking was a thing, but like one of the reasons why hand checking was a necessity was because zone defenses and other defenses were illegal. You had to play either one-on-one defense or send a double team. So it was very, very hard to in the way the court was spaced and everything like that, it was a lot easier for players to do it.
1 minute to wrap up.
Okay. So all I'm saying is like the defense was easier and the competition wasn't that difficult. Can you name or think of any guard that like Michael Jordan really had to go against? That like it was just like, oh man, like a barn burner type person. He had Reggie Miller. To like go against and stuff like that. Like he was losing he was getting beat up on by the Celtics for a number of years. He got beat up on by the Bad Boy Pistons. All of a sudden, all these expansive drafts happen. Larry Bird retires. All of a sudden, and then like all of a sudden, the league just clears, and it just happens to be wide open for him. I'm not saying that it was manufactured that way. I'm just saying that's just the way that it happened to happen. And it's like in the NBA, you can't choose who you play. But when you look back on things, you can look at it and see that like things just happen to break right for him. That's all I'm saying.
With 3 seconds to spare. All right. Miss, you up. Hold on. Let me get your time right.
Can you repeat the question though again?
Oh, yeah, I got you.
So I'm listening and I'm trying to remember what exactly the question is.
Oh, yeah. So it's era of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So basically just like the difference in the era, like was there a strength for either one? What's the major differences? Did it play into the hand of the other person? Like, as Joel was saying, he didn't think anybody was there that could guard Jordan. He thought it was a weak league, so it made it easier for him to be successful. So does the era of basketball change the success rate, I guess?
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and your time is starting. Here we go.
So I guess my question would be then, who was really LeBron's competition, and just in the Eastern Conference when he made it into the Eastern Conference. I mean, you can look at Paul Pierce. You can look at I'm trying to think pre-Miami Heat days when he was first with the Cavs. Like who was really he going up against in the Eastern Conference once all that stuff began? Because again, we all know, and it's been proven by the amount of championships, the Western Conference was the more dominant conference during that time. So I feel like that, he had an easier road to the finals each year, being in the East, where really he had to compete with probably Detroit and maybe those Indiana Pacers with Ron Artest and all of them at that time. So I don't really see how, when we look at his dominance throughout the Eastern Conference, it's like, okay, but who was he really playing against? Who if we're gonna sit here and say that the talent was so much better in the mid 2000s to where it is now, then why weren't more teams in the Eastern Conference winning championships? Why was the West dominating like it was? And you can even look at the All-Star games. The East could barely beat the West in the All-Star games. You don't remember many times where the Eastern Conference actually won the All-Star game back in the days when they were doing East versus West versus what it is now. So, I mean, again, so it just makes me think about like, okay, had LeBron James been drafted to the West and he was putting out teams like those Dallas Mavericks, San Antonio Spurs, Kobe's Lakers,
1 minute,
the Phoenix Suns with Steve Nash, Amari, and those boys. If he was putting out teams like that every year on his way to the finals, I'd have limited argument as far as his status of being the greatest of all time. It's just hard for me to sit here and believe that he was the best when there's not really anyone in the East that he could really go up against until the Boston Celtics created, not the way that LeBron and them created, but created the team in Boston with KG, Pierce, and Ray Allen. That was really, and maybe the Dwight Howard Magic was probably his best competition. But I mean, as far as eras goes, I still see Jordan's era as the better, but we'll get into that as the day continues.
All right. Okay. Now we will open up for cross-examinations on the same question. All right. Do you have anything to rebuttal that Brandon might have brought up?
I mean, he asked a couple questions, right? He asked questions is like, who was LeBron James' competition?
Mm-hmm.
And you had the Gilbert Arenas Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Detroit Pistons, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals 5 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it?
The Detroit Pistons.
Oh, the Pistons. Okay.
You know what I mean? You had the Boston Celtics, like up to a certain point. You had the Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, New York Nets. There were a bunch of teams that were there. The East was very top heavy. Like, yes, the West was better from like 1 through 8, but it's like the East was a very top heavy thing. And it was even the case, like when they did go to Miami, they would always have the 2 or 3 best teams in the league. But then like the rest of the Eastern Conference was a little bit weaker. Mm-hmm. And like, I can agree to that point. So like my question to you is like, what about Jordan's era? Like in the Eastern Conference?
No, you didn't answer my question, because my question was who in the East was actually giving LeBron a challenge? Because that's what I'm saying. Like, you're talking about teams. I'm talking about specific players in the Eastern Conference that could go toe to toe with him, give him issues in a series. Like, you're looking at that Washington Wizards team. Their their small forward at that time, I think, was Caron Butler, but I'm not really seeing that much competition there. I think LeBron wins that matchup by a landslide. So that's what I'm saying. Besides for maybe Paul Pierce, who used to give LeBron the business when they had their series.
All right, if you want to say that.
He did. For 3 years straight, he gave LeBron the business.
Really, because he only beat LeBron James one time. So, but like, he gave him the business twice. He brought him one time in 2008. In 2008,
we got 1 minute left for cross-examinations. I love it.
He beat him in 2010. Remember, because they lost to Boston, and he goes to the tunnel, takes his jersey off.
You're absolutely right.
So yeah, he beat him twice.
Every other year before that, he was getting put over his knee and spanked by LeBron. That's why he was like,
but that's what I'm saying. But
they shooting though. They jumping over here.
No. But that's what I'm saying. You see, you're going to the Miami Heat days. I'm talking about his first year with the Cavaliers. Who was he going up against? Besides for Paul Pierce, that was a legit comp for him.
The Detroit Pistons. Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben
Wallace.
Wallace.
You're not
20
hearing.
seconds.
Correct. You're not hearing me. I'm asking about a player.
Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson.
He never faced Vince Carter in the playoffs.
Yes, he did. He beat
When?
the New Jersey Jets with Vince Carter and Richard Jefferson.
What year?
Nets.
The Nets. I'm
What
sorry.
year?
That was in 2005, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Might have been. Was it? Might have been.
They, on their way to the finals to get to San Antonio, they had to take the Nets out. That was one of the things they had to do.
Can you also be our stat?
Oh yeah. You want me to look up that? I can look it up. I can look it up
as well. Because I don't recall that.
There you go. Let's take a look at it. 2006. They beat the Wizards with Antoine Jameson, Gilbert Arenas, Caron Butler.
Oh, the same Antoine Jameson you said to me last week wasn't all that good.
Yeah,
because you said that LeBron had a bunch of bums on his team.
Yeah. This is what you got. That's the same Antoine Jameson, the guy who will probably still enter the Hall of Fame because he has the numbers to put it up. He was still a 30-point per game scorer.
In the Hall of Fame.
All right, time. Hold on. I got a subtopic to throw in. We gotta hit the chat right quick. It says basketball is a team sport.
That's what I'm saying. Who are these world beaters that Jordan's kicking out?
Wait, hold on. It says LeBron is the creator of the super teams. Never heard of the Jordan era. No respect. Yeesh.
That's not even true. Okay. That's just all right.
Hey, listen. We'll get there. All right, we're gonna move on to our subtopic because I know we can get down this rabbit hole. I don't want to have to start throwing flags and giving technical fouls. All right. So we had the first question of like the era of basketball in which each player played in. All right. So our subtopic to that question would be who would fare better if we switched them in eras. All right. So we threw LeBron in the 90s and we threw Jordan in the early 2000s and so on and so forth. Who would fare better in their career? Would they still be a GOAT? Would the championship still look the same? Would it be dominance? Would there not be dominance? Because I know this is one of the topics of conversation. Everybody talks about like the defense was different in the 90s, or there's a lot harder guards to guard in this era of basketball now. So we're gonna keep in the area of the range we were still going on, and we're gonna go with crack first. Hold on, I'm gonna get your clock started. Your 3 minutes starts now.
So we're going over the assumption that like we're essentially just trading each player's career, right?
Yes.
So LeBron is just drafted in '84, and then Michael Jordan is drafted in '03 to the Cavaliers.
Yes, I feel like I don't want to say yes because I feel like you're changing the question. We'll just say
is that not the question?
Only reason I say that is I feel like if LeBron was in that era the way he is now, he would have got drafted over Sam Bowie. But we'll just say LeBron's on the Bulls.
Yeah.
And Jordan's on the Cavs.
Like what I just said.
And the Heat and so on and so forth. Yes.
I think that Michael Jordan would be just as great, like as far as like his stats and his gameplay, things of that nature. But as far as like the hand checking rules and stuff like that, Jordan also benefited from that as well. So those steal numbers are not going to be like up there as much as he is. He is still a phenomenal, one of the greatest perimeter defenders like we've ever seen. But I think that he would take like quite a bump because of those things. But I think like his numbers would still be there. I don't think that he's railing off 6 championships in this era. I think that like him having to play against like these Golden State Warriors, him having to play against the San Antonio Spurs, him having to play against Kobe Bryant's Lakers, or anybody like in the West, like I feel like everybody's giving him a run for their money just as well. So like it all comes down to like how the team is constructed around him. And it's just like if he's as good as LeBron James was, like they don't get the draft picks in order to get these players to build around them. So that means like you have to do the trades and the things of that nature. So if we're doing these same exact rosters, Michael Jordan is not carrying these Cavaliers rosters to finals either. Like he's going to wind up either getting somebody to come with him or he's going to go somewhere else as well. Now, if we do LeBron James like in that time frame, who's stopping him? Who are these wing players that are stopping LeBron James from going anywhere? He is the same size as Karl Malone, and he moves like Michael Jordan does. If they couldn't guard Michael, who's guarding LeBron James one-on-one? And you're telling me that they can't play zone defense. They can't do anything of that nature. So he can literally just abuse whoever the person is that's in front of him. Like Charles Barkley was 6'4" and was dominating on the boards and was doing all the other type of stuff. LeBron James at his size, his weight, his athleticism is absolutely destroying a lot of these guys in there. And like he's supposed to be afraid of like David Robinson, like all these guys of this nature. Like, yo, like The Patrick Ewing Knicks ain't standing a chance. Reggie Miller and these Pacers aren't standing a chance. Who are these people that are supposed to be these LeBron James stopper? Because I'll tell you what, Charles Oakley, LeBron probably weighs more than you, and he's going to be a freight train. He's putting you on your ass too. Like, what are we talking about right now?
You got 20 seconds.
The fact that like there's no the fact that there's illegal defenses and like you can't do zone, you can't do things of that nature. All that does is make LeBron James playmaking that much more substantial. So it's like when you have to come to him, you have to send double teams. And it's like if we've seen anything from LeBron James, he can sniff out a double team like it's nobody's business.
Time.
And
Ooh, he looked like he was about to start cooking. Fredo seems to agree with you. He said LeBron's size would be crazy. Had a couple people requested that we go live on IG, so I threw the IG up there too. All right, Brandon, your 3 minutes is ready. You ready, locked and loaded? You ready to go? For those who's just tuning in or just chiming in, I see our numbers went up a little bit. We having the GOAT versus GOAT conversation. All right. Joey Crack is team Bron and B Miz is team Jordan. So we got a couple of different questions to try to figure this out. All right. I'm not going to say who wins or loses. We're going to leave that up to y'all. Y'all can throw y'all answers in the chat. Please don't let it be based off of how you already feel. If somebody's saying something that makes sense, then let's make sure that they're getting credit for what they're saying. All right. All right. So B Miz, you're up. 3 minutes on the clock.
So we're always talking about size here. We're looking at size here, but I'm looking more so at mentality. Because especially when we look at the NBA today, we got a lot of big men that want to play on the perimeter because they know they can play on the perimeter. And because of that, they're not using their size. So we can't sit here and say, oh, just because of LeBron's size, he's going to necessarily dominate in a particular era when we've seen, and this is a fact, that it didn't matter about his size when he went up against the San Antonio Spurs in 2007 or the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. It was his mentality. Because if you look at those series, and especially the 2007 series, everybody wants to talk about like how those Cavaliers were no matchup for the Spurs, when the fact is their margin of difference as far as that series goes was like less than 2 or 3 points, which means every game was close. So if LeBron had that mentality and said, you know what, I have a shot to win this game, I'm going to take over and y'all just get on my back, I'm going to bring y'all there, then I think that series is different. It's not like the Spurs blew them out like they did those Miami Heat in 2014 by a record margin. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. So that's interesting. LeBron has the supporting cast that he's begged for all these years in 2014 and gets blown out every game. Because I looked at the stats last night. I think only one game was close that series. Miami won by 2. Every other game, San Antonio won no less than like 16 or 17 points. And again, you're super loaded, same team as a year prior when y'all beat the Spurs. And ironically, it was Ray Allen that saved LeBron in 2013. Because again, who was it that turned the ball over twice in that last couple of possessions and missed the game winning or game tying 3-point shot? And yet Chris Bosh is there to bail him out and toss it to Ray Allen in the corner, who hits a 3. And then again, that Miami Heat team would have been what 1-2 in those finals. Could have been 1-3. So I'm not going to necessarily just look at LeBron's size. It's also got to be that mentality. So I think if you put in Jordan into today's times with his mentality, it's hard to say that he would not have as many championships as he did, especially if you put him in the same series that LeBron was in all them years. Because again, when Jordan knew when it was crunch time, give me the ball, I'm gonna bring you there, and he always did.
Man, with 8 seconds to spare, I respect it. Hey, fellas, I just want to say, all right, we're ending our first topic. All right. Haven't had to throw any flags or assess any technical fouls. All right. Appreciate you guys being gentlemen and scholars. All right.
It's a Sunday. It's the Lord's Day.
Okay. That's what I like to hear.
I'm just like the chick. I play the game clean, like with the rules that were intended that were given to me.
That's what's up. All right. So we're gonna move on to our next topic. All right. For those who just tuning in, again, we having the GOAT versus GOAT conversation.
Is that rebuttal time?
Yeah. I'm gonna give you rebuttal time.
Right.
Oh, yeah. You want to rebuttal the air? Okay, all right. My bad. We'll do 1 minute rebuttal. 1 minute rebuttal.
Well, first of all, everything I feel like has been falling on me, and he just has to respond like to what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is like I have a question to him.
Well, just so you know, when we switch each topic, the person who goes first is going to switch as well. I'm sorry.
I've gone first all time.
Yeah. No, it's the same topic though. It's the same topic. So go ahead. You got your rebuttal. My bad.
I just want to ask the question. So who are these guys? Like you asked, I'm gonna ask you the same question that you asked about LeBron. Who are the guys that like Michael Jordan like was supposed to stop Michael Jordan? That you're just like who's this person that you put in front of Michael Jordan that you're just like you should be able. This guy's supposed to give you some work, like the way that like guys like Kawhi, Giannis, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Paul Pierce, Paul George, like these guys like that are in front of LeBron James. Who are these guys that are in front of Michael Jordan that like he had to like overcome? That was just like, yo, this giant, these juggernauts that people claim that were in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Gary Payton.
Yeah, those are some dogs. I mean,
aren't all those guys in the top 75?
Oh, well, yeah, they're mostly in the top 75 because time has just went that way. Like, are the guys that I named that LeBron James was against?
But that's interesting.
Fredo says LeBron's size would be a major factor.
That's interesting because if you look at it so I guess we got to go and talk with the people who created that top 75 list and say, oh, well, it was just time, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, they don't know anything. They're not looking at time.
First of all,
when they created these teams.
Gary Payton was a 6'2" point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the guy that you're saying that, like, Michael Jordan is supposed to be afraid of Gary Payton, like this guard that he's supposed to be going in. That would be like if Michael Jordan was afraid of Marcus Smart or something like that. Like, do you see like what I'm talking about?
Have Sean Kemp?
He did have Sean Kemp. Who was guarding Sean Kemp? Dennis Rodman. He's like one of the greatest defenders and rebounders of all time. Magic Johnson.
First year though?
When Michael Jordan beat the Los Angeles Lakers in the finals, they lost the first 2 games in a row when Michael Jordan was guarding Magic Johnson. The series swung. They won 4 games in a row. Magic Johnson himself said, well, they switched Scottie Pippen on me, and he started guarding me 90 feet, and that's what started giving me issues. That same year where Magic Johnson wound up having HIV and had to retire. But, like, that's the world beater that you're going against. And then Clyde Drexler was never on Michael Jordan's level, but he was solid competition if you want to go there.
Nick Mochi says, how old was Clyde during that time?
Clyde was only a couple years older than him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't dusty. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Clyde Drexler was trash because he's not. But he just wasn't the same. He was the second best shooting guard in the league. And it was like they played each other like in that one finals and Jordan straight cooked them. That's the guy. That's your one guy. Who else do you got? He was literally being guarded in series by Craig Elo and Muggsy Bogues. And we're sitting here acting like
time. All right. That's great. All right. Again, for those who just joined us, we having GOAT versus GOAT conversation, all right? We got Team Bron over here, Team Jordan over here, all right? I had to stop y'all a little early because we're getting into our next topic, all right? And our next topic is in the GOAT conversation is the level of talent of opponents that each person has faced, all right? So y'all already started dabbing on it already. This is a new topic, so the coin flips. Miz, you'll go first, and you'll have the chance to talk about the competition that LeBron had to go in during his career and his continued career that he's in now, and decide whether or not there's a difference between that and Jordan's era. All right, you ready? All right, time's up. There you go.
You know, I think one of the things that the LeBron era can, actually has to its advantage is like what we're using now, social media. Players get promoted much more. Like you got, apps like House of Highlights and others that shoot a player makes a half court shot because during the game and it's all over social media. It's like, whereas back in the day, you didn't have that type of access. So I think, it's hard to really judge, certain players from back in the day because they don't have the access to things that they have now. And I mean, I would agree to the fact that, players from an evolutionary standpoint have, probably a higher skill level, more so due to the access of certain sciences and other stuff that they benefit from today. So with that being said, it's like, again, it's interesting to see like, okay, if you take today's technology and resources and stuff that we have today and we bring it back in the day, it's been interesting to see how players develop. Sticking to the point of opponents, I definitely believe that when you look at LeBron's opponents, like I said earlier. It's hard for me to sit here and say in the Eastern Conference alone, his first run with the Cavaliers, there were many, superstar players in that East that he went up against that, would have given him an issue on his way to the finals. I think only one or two series when he was with those first Cavaliers went 7. But for the most part, every series was done in 5 because, again, the level of competition just wasn't there. The records of those teams were under 500. So that's a factor because, again, the West was dominant at that time. So if you transition to his Miami Heat team, that Miami Heat team was without a doubt the best team in the East by far. Maybe the Celtics, but the Celtics were older. KG was older. Pierce was older. Ray Allen was up. They were not in their primes no more. So if you really look at who was his level of competition when he was in the Eastern Conference, and I'm just saying, just the East. I don't want to hear about the West where they had OKC and they had the Spurs and the Warriors. I'm talking specifically East that would have given them headaches. And it took literally a Paul George, just Paul George. Don't give me Roy Hibbert. Roy, dude, please. You guys were talking about size earlier. Roy Hibbert was 7 feet for nothing. Like the guy averaged 10 points a game. So
all right, Ty. All right, Joey, your 3 minutes is ready, locked and loaded. You ready to go?
Sure. That was like a very go ahead. You just start the time.
You want to save your rebuttals and just go open in case? Because it looked like you just ready to rebuttal. I will give you 3 minutes.
What am I supposed to be saying? I was gonna say that was a very long soliloquy to just say that the players now are better. The medicine is better. The coaches are smarter. The GMs are better. Everybody is better. The league was so watered down during Michael Jordan's time. It's not even fun. The talent pool is insane today compared to what it was back then. You could just look at the All-Star games in general and see players that didn't players like Kawhi Leonard, Trae Young, Bradley Beal, they didn't even make the All-Star team. And it's back then they had guys like John Starks was making All-Star teams and things of that nature. And he was averaging 12
Harlem,
points per game. Baby? You know what I mean? It's the talent pool is so insane that every team has at least one guy. The problem is some of these teams suck because they don't have 2 guys. That's how big they are. And people are creating super teams because GMs have just gotten better at putting teams together and giving players the means to get around them. One of the reasons why Jordan was so successful in that time is because of the triangle offense. The triangle offense was the perfect counterpoint to the rules of the 90s. So it's you come in with Phil Jackson, you install the triangle offense. There's so many times where Michael Jordan's in the post by himself, posting a smaller guard for 7 seconds because they can't bring another person over, and then he's scoring over these little guards because it's just easier to do that. And once you figure out the rules, you can't exploit them. Now the talent pool and the coaching has become so better. Spacing is better. Defense is better. They're switching more, and because they don't have the ability to lean on hand checking, the defenders have to be better defenders. I feel I've asked this a bunch of times. Is who are these guys that Michael Jordan is beating? You keep bringing up all these, these people. You're oh, Roy Hibbert's not that good. It's what do you mean? Roy Hibbert was better than Charles Oakley was. He was an All-Star. He almost made an All-NBA team. He was in the running for some Defensive Player of the Year stuff. Roy Hibbert was an actual issue until the league flipped on him, and they started running with the stretch fours and things of that nature. And Paul Pierce was in his prime during that time. Kevin Garnett was not in his prime. Ray Allen wasn't. But they had that Ray Allen, and then LeBron James got him 3 years later, and then he was he still won a ring with them. So what are we talking about? All these players are old. They were just as old in Jordan's era. And they were even worse off. Larry Bird could barely stand up and walk, and he's still he has no idea what it's like to lose to Michael Jordan because he's completely swept them every time that they played. I don't understand who these world beaters, because you keep throwing out these players like LeBron, these, and he played this person, but he wasn't that good. Name me anybody. I've asked 3 times. Name me anybody that was so good that Michael Jordan had to play against. That East was so weak back then. It was 3 teams. It was the Knicks, it was the Pacers, and it was the Bulls, and that was it until Shaq came around with the Magic. That was all it really was.
Time. That was clean. That was a clean stop too. I don't know if I agree with that. Whole defense is better these days. I did see a team score 350 points the other day
because the players are better.
It's out of control. All right, so listen. I know the latest news and like.
Is he gonna rebuttal to that?
Oh, no? Did you want a rebuttal, B? I'm sorry, my bad.
He said,
thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, he said a lot, so I was trying to. But Raisin, actually, can you fact check how old was Paul Pierce in 2011 when they lost to Miami?
Let's see.
Well, he was drafted in what 1998.
Mm-hmm. So but he played 4 years of college, I believe.
Okay, so like let's say he's
like
let's say he's 30 years old.
Was 38?
Let's say he was 30.
Pierce was not 30 at that time. I don't think he was 30 at that time.
What year was that?
2011.
But his playing wise, he was still in his prime, right? Regardless of how old he was, Paul Pierce was never better than when Kevin Garnett was on his team.
Say again?
Paul Pierce was never better than when Kevin Garnett was on his team. He might have scored more points.
Saying never. So you're saying as far as an overall basketball player?
Yes.
Okay, I can agree to that. Yeah.
So wouldn't that mean that he's in his prime?
Not necessarily.
So what does it mean then? If I'm playing the best basketball that I'm playing, that's my prime, right? It's not age, because if LeBron James right now started averaging like a triple double and was playing all world defense, would we consider it like his prime or we consider it like a fluke? Because like then what's the end of LeBron James's prime?
That's what they're saying right now. They're saying that he's playing the best basketball. I don't see it.
I don't agree either.
But that's what the media is telling us.
What year was those finals? 2011.
Yeah, 2011. Yes. How old was Paul Pierce in 2011?
Well, they won in 2008. So like that's the real time that you want to go to.
How old was Paul Pierce in 2011?
He's 45 now. So you take away 12. He was 33. He's 33.
I mean, LeBron James is 38 right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Michael Jordan was winning finals when he was 30.
He's like, but I'm saying he is benefiting from a league right now, like Raisin just said, that's not playing defense. Dudes are going to the basket whenever they want. I just saw LeBron James play live. I was at that Celtics-Lakers game. This dude went to the basket whenever he wanted. Like,
because he's good.
No, it was what he goes there whenever he wants because he can't be touched. Because I watched, he would drive, right, and if he missed the layups, the refs would wait and then beep whistle.
So Michael Jordan was never a benefit of the whistle.
I'm not saying that Jordan didn't benefit because stars do get calls. I'm not saying that.
Time out. This is not a tech. This is a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because we ain't gonna get into that whistle talk. All right, we ain't get into the superstar caliber because that's a whole nother rabbit hole to get down. Can you name me
some players that Michael Jordan had to go against in the East though? Can I get that? Like I've been asking that for like at least 3 different terms.
Yeah, I think he gave him 2. He gave you. What'd you get?
Clyde Drexler was in the West. Magic Johnson was in the West.
Oh, you said in the East.
Who was it? Who were these juggernauts that Jordan had to get through in the East that like he got there to get there?
Yeah, you have John Starks.
John Starks, the 6'2" undrafted guard. Keep going.
Yeah, don't be talking about my man like that.
Go ahead.
Wasn't Penny in the East?
He was, and he came back for his second three-peat after Shaq and him had tore him up and knocked him out in the first round.
Your boy was in the East, but was that post Jordan?
Who's that?
Grant Hill?
No, he was in the East, and that Pistons team was garbage.
Yeah.
It was just Grant Hill and Lindsey Hunter.
T-Mac, Vince.
That was way after.
Dang. Well, I'm just reffing. I ain't my job to be looking up these people.
These crickets are like enormous right now.
I need you again. All right, so listen, we're gonna get into our subtopic. We ain't gonna digress too much. All right. So
that's not fair. What? Like I gotta come up with stuff like off the cuff and I gotta do all this or whatever. But then like when I throw a question back this way, like we could just move on.
I gave him time. He didn't. You got some?
Because we're being very, very critical of like LeBron James and the talent that he's playing against. And then like the counter argument is like, who are these guys that Jordan played against? And everybody's like, ugh. Is it Glenn Rice? Is it Del Curry? Are these the guys that he's supposed to be afraid of?
Is it
Craig Elo?
If you say, I've said guys in the past, and you'd be like, but he's this, not this, but he's not that, but he's not this.
All right, but like, so like the guys that you're saying, like these are not world beaters. Like these are, you're like, I'm giving you guys that like LeBron James is playing against. You're like, oh, but he's not that good. He's not this. He's not that. And like the guys that you're giving me for Jordan are like guys that weren't even all stars.
Bro, I've said strictly the Eastern Conference. I said strictly the Eastern.
I just asked you strictly the Eastern Conference, and you gave me John Starks.
And you didn't give me nobody either.
For LeBron James, I gave you a bunch. I gave you teams and everything.
No, I didn't ask for teams because I could go teams for Michael Jordan, but I'm asking
go teams. Then who's the teams?
I'm giving strictly players. The Celtics.
Okay. After Larry Bird retired, because in the '90s he didn't have to worry about the Celtics.
Pistons.
In the '90s he didn't have to worry about them because they all retired too.
Pistons.
Okay. Pistons.
Magic. Pacers. So you asked me for teams.
Are we going to compare those teams, like these world beater teams, to the teams that like LeBron James? And also, LeBron James's career is 20 years long. Are consistently being like, oh, his first couple of years in Cleveland. It's only 7 years. Why do we only encapsulate like LeBron James into the first 7 years? Because there's more than that.
No. The only reason why I'm discussing the first 7 years is because
those are the only ones you consider valid. Because he wasn't in Miami.
No. It's not that
when he was tearing the Celtics up.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is those first 7 years. We're talking about how he made that team so much better, but yet when we look at that team, it really was not all that bad. Because I mean, again, they were the best defensive team in the league. They were the best 3-point shooting team in the league, and at that time, LeBron was not known for shooting. If he's ever been known for shooting,
who are these guys that Michael Jordan carried to the finals? Did he carry it over there? Because like, who are these? You're telling me that like these Cavaliers players were not that bad. Who were these great players that like LeBron James played with on the Cavaliers?
Carlos Boozer?
He played with him his first year and then he left.
All right, hold on. Time out. Because you guys are doing, you guys keep going into my little schedule of questions to be asked.
Fine.
Y'all keep getting into it. All right, I got one quick question for y'all. All right, I'm not going to put no time on this. Y'all can just make a decision. I know the recent thing that we've all seen is like the major accolade of points scored and LeBron taking first place over Kareem. I believe Jordan's like what, fourth on that list? Fifth on that list. All right. So based on opponents and errors and stuff that we've talked about now, do we think, given a swap, that LeBron would have scored more or less, or Jordan would have scored more or less?
Who are you giving this to right now?
This on Miz. This is his topic. We switch. Next topic, we're gonna start with you.
See, the thing that I always love about Michael Jordan's game is he always developed his game as his career went on. As he got older, he developed a post game, that mid-range jumper. And I believe in today's time, as far as the amount of 3-point shooting that is allowed, his point average actually would have went up. And I can't remember exactly the individual who did the stat research, so I can't give that individual credit for this, but somebody in the media did the research of what Jordan would average in today's NBA, and he would average 40 points a game.
Somebody agrees with you. Someone said MJ would average more now than Bron did.
So
MJ was a killer.
So yeah, it's hard to look at that. And again, as far as LeBron and back in the day era, as far as his scoring ability, I'm not going to say that LeBron wouldn't have been a good to almost great player in the back in the day. However, it would have just been interesting to see how, and again, it goes back to the whole mentality thing that I said, because everybody wants to talk about size and skill, but if you don't have that mentality, I don't care how good you are. If you don't have that mentality to want it, then you're a waste of talent. Because again, we off topic. We were just talking about Ja. Like Ja's mentality right now, he wants to be a thug instead of play basketball. Bro, you got all the skill in the world to be the best player in the NBA, but you want to play with the street lights. So that's your mentality, but that's a different subject. So again, it comes down to mentality. And I look at, Michael Jordan in these days where you blow on a dude and they're crying and stuff like that, for touching them. And the things that Jordan, would have said and done to a lot of these players in today's times, man, I mean, again, Raisin, I just sent you the video the other day of like how dudes literally were scared of Jordan. Like they say, like NBA players and legends say they respect LeBron James, but they don't fear LeBron James. People feared Michael Jordan. And so that goes off of mentality. And that wasn't just his skill level. That's what this dude would say to you, would do to you in practices and stuff like that. We all watched The Last Dance and how he used to harass Scott Burrell, and stuff like that during practice to try to make him mentally tougher. So that's how I look at it as far as, scoring abilities and stuff like that. It's more than that.
B-Miz got the chat ringing. Somebody said facts, man. OG Pop said if LeBron played against those guys in the Bad Boys Pistons, his 20 years would be 15. Oh man!
And I was gonna get to that, but I want to give Crack his time because my only thing was they had the Jordan rule. Those Pistons literally had the Jordan rule to ground him. So it would have been interesting if they would have had the LeBron rule to ground LeBron, how he would have came back from that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Whew. Somebody, Nick said J.R. Smith would have smacked Jordan. Nobody would have been scared. All right, Craig, it's on you.
This
you
notion,
need me to restate the question, or
No. This notion,
right quick, just for our people. I see a couple of people that just jumped in. I'm pretty sure the title says that we going GOAT versus GOAT. So we got Team Bron over here, Team Mike over here, and right now we're talking the difference of eras and opponents.
This notion that Michael Jordan would have averaged 40 points per game in this era is absolutely absurd, because we've seen the model of the Jordan type player in today's NBA, and they don't average anywhere near that type of stuff. And like, players have only gotten better and they shoot better. Kobe Bryant is a prime example. Kobe Bryant didn't average 40 points per game, and he was the Michael Jordan clone with better 3-point shooting. Kevin Durant is probably the greatest scorer I've ever seen. The best ability. Like, there's no place on the court that Kevin Durant can't score from. He doesn't average 40 points. Steph Curry doesn't average 40 points. Devin Booker doesn't average 40 points. So this notion that all of a sudden Michael Jordan's going to magically come down and sprinkle some fairy dust and average 40 is out of control. It makes no damn sense. What is the real basis behind it? If you take his numbers from the 90s and you just pump them up and put them in some analytics and stuff like that, it's going to jump up and be yeah, he'd average about 40. But it's you take out all the nuance when you go with straight numbers. That doesn't make any type of sense, with that argument. And then this notion that the Bad Boy Pistons were going to stop LeBron James. Who? But I am a Pistons fan. I am a Pistons fan, die hard. The whole person that was really mauling people in the paint, that was Rick Mahorn. LeBron's bigger than Rick Mahorn. He's not really putting him on his ass. And then, you also got to remember, that also means on the other end of the floor, LeBron James could put people on their ass. So, if Isaiah Thomas or Joe Dumars, these 6'2" guards come into the paint, he could put them on their ass too. I think his numbers would look a lot better. I think his numbers would look a lot better too if, he can just feast on guards who can't dribble that great. What are we what is this? This is absurd. Some of these things that we're saying, if he was here, he'd be doing this.
20 seconds.
As far as scoring goes, LeBron James is the greatest scoring guard of all time. I think Will Chamberlain should go down as the greatest scorer ever. Man averaged 50 points per game and stuff like that. He's obviously a better scorer than LeBron James. LeBron James has the number one thing mostly because of longevity, but it's crazy that that's his secondary skill, but he's the best all time or he scored the most all time. It makes no sense.
Nick, that's our next question. I'm glad you chimed in. We good? We got any rebuttals? B-Miz, you got a rebuttal?
Yeah, because again, my whole thing with what Crack is saying is Crack is just going based off of LeBron's body size. I'm going off of mentality. LeBron has never wanted that smoke. You please show me a time when he goes at someone like that. Every time he'll back up, or he'll flop and go flying he just caught the Holy Ghost.
There's literally a meme of LeBron licking his lips and his chops and then tearing your Celtics up, dunking on Kevin Garnett's face. He scored 25 points in the quarter on the Pistons.
But Crack, we're not
what are we talking about? He doesn't have it in him.
We're not talking about scoring. I'm talking about mentality.
What are you talking about then? We're not talking about scoring.
I don't want to talk about it. Better keep it together. You better keep it together.
You just said that he would put somebody on the floor. When has he put somebody on the floor?
The rule says he can't put people on the floor, but he'll put them on a poster.
Correct.
Is that not close to the same thing at least?
Correct. I just said back then.
He literally who was
You're not listening. I said in that series. Who is he going to actually do that to and actually go ahead and do that?
Everybody! Who's stopping him?
That's not his
Dennis
mentality.
Rodman weighs 50 pounds less than him.
Mentality.
All right. All right,
It's not his mentality.
time out.
Bro, that's
Y'all need a minute. Y'all need some water. Y'all need to take a beverage to refresh. Oh, we get heated in here. I love it. I love it. We cooking now. We are cooking now. Yeah, go ahead.
Because people talk about the mentality.
Okay.
Right? And it's like there are many different mentalities to win. Can we really realistically sit here and say like because LeBron James doesn't have this quote unquote killer mentality that he does not care about the game of basketball as much as anybody else does, and he doesn't put in the same amount of work?
I'm just a ref.
No discussion.
Oh, come on, man. Like, you're gonna be here, you're gonna be. What I'm saying is like he doesn't have this so-called killer mentality, right? That's what you say. It's like he doesn't have this Kobe gene, the Mamba, whatever you want to say. Can we realistically say that he does not care about or put in the same amount of work as a LeBron James and a Kobe Bryant? Or a Michael Jordan and a Kobe Bryant?
Like put in the work as
put in the same amount. He doesn't care about winning basketball games as much as they care about winning basketball games.
I mean, I don't know if LeBron cares about winning basketball.
He literally goes to different teams and gets teammates to try to win championships. Like that's his whole thing. It's like, oh, why does he keep going here? Why does he keep going here? Because he's tired of losing. Nothing is more important to him than winning. That's the whole thing.
If he's tired of losing, then why does he continue to not want to smoke when he's playing up against good teams?
Give me somebody he didn't want to smoke against. Because ask those Golden State Warriors.
G said because he can't win alone.
Ask them Golden State Warriors how much he wants to smoke when he led the entire series in every single statistical category.
Here we go, stat padding now. So we're gonna talk.
How is it stat padding?
Hold on, because y'all be jumping.
I feel like we're hearing words from like First Take, and we're just using these things. Like that doesn't make any sense.
He's always been, because I've seen many a times when LeBron James has been down 30 in the fourth quarter and still in the game padding his stats.
All right, time out. All right, so Nick was in the chat. Nick said LeBron on that Jordan team would do work. All right, so listen, this leads us into our next question. All right, and Crack went first. Miz got the second one, so Crack's on this one now. Given the teammates that each person has had, if we switch those teammates, does it change their run? Does it change the amount of championships that they win? So that means if you put Jordan on that Cavs team, which looks crazy, or on that Miami team, does he stay and get more rings? On the LA team, if you throw LeBron with Pippen and Horace Grant and Rodman, does he go for three, go play baseball? Or, I mean, I know you're going to go play baseball, but does LeBron just stay on the Bulls and just keep ripping off championships? All right, so we going this way first.
But I mean, one of the big things about LeBron James is like, as different from Jordan, is like he doesn't quit basketball. You know, Michael Jordan did it 3 times. LeBron James has never done it. So like that means that he's going to go and he's going to play straight through. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that needs to be brought up, and it doesn't get brought up enough, is how good was Scottie Pippen? Scottie Pippen was one of the 10 best players in the NBA during his time. He was one of the 50 greatest players. He was all these things, right? So you're telling me if you give LeBron James that guy, that would be like the equivalent of giving him like a Kawhi Leonard to start his career. It's like, why would he go to these other teams? The Bulls themselves were a super team. That team was good. They were good even when Jordan was playing baseball. They were still very good. When LeBron James leaves teams, they turn into Putnam. Like they're whatchamacallit. They're tragic. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, so... And like you also got to remember, like these teams are designed to fit everyone else, right? So like Michael Jordan on that Miami Heat team with Dwayne Wade, it would be a weird looking fit, but it's like that team is good enough and Michael Jordan is good enough that I still think that they win those rings. I don't think that he takes those Cavaliers to the finals. I don't think that he's going to do anything better with these Lakers than he did before. He's definitely not having that run that LeBron had with Cleveland his second time around. But LeBron James and Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant is running through this league. There's nobody that's going to be able to stop them. There's not a single team that you could think of that like you look at them and be like, oh, that team's eating. Patrick Ewing would be sweating like right through his jersey. He'd be looking at John Starks like, please stay in front of LeBron James.
We're not going to keep bringing up Knicks, all right?
Reggie Miller would look at the Davis brothers and Rick Smith and be like, please, like stop letting LeBron James put his shoulder into my chest, because it's like my chest is now in my back. It makes no sense. Like, who are these guys? Like, the only team that I could think of that if they met him in the finals would be the Olajuwon Rockets, which Michael Jordan never had to go against because he quit when they were winning their rings and things of that nature. But it's like, yo, those Utah Jazz teams, because that's the best team that Michael Jordan played in the finals, was those Utah Jazz teams. That John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, Greg Ostertag, Karl Malone team is not coming anywhere close to that LeBron James, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Ron Mercer, stuff like that. Because that's another thing. Ron Mercer was one of the best perimeter point guards of his time. But Michael Jordan was on the team with the best people who can play defense around him are on his team.
30 seconds.
So it's like, of course, like they're not going to beat them.
So my question would be, with your last 20 seconds, I'll give you an extra 10, is can LeBron win more than the 4 championships he has with that Bulls team?
Yes, I think so. I think absolutely. I thought you were going to ask me if he's winning more rings. Like, I don't know. I think LeBron James is done. Like, if I'm being honest, like, I don't think that there's another ring.
Oh, no. I'm talking about if he's on that Bulls team. We know Jordan got 6 with that team. Does he get more than 4? Or does he get 6?
I think he gets 6, if not more. Okay. I think at least he gets 6.
Okay. All right. Miz, it's on you.
So repeat the question, Chuck.
Yep. Given the swaps that we keep doing, right? Mm-hmm. If you take Jordan and give him all the teammates that LeBron has, does he only end up with 4 rings? Does he still get 6 rings? Does he get more? Like, we won't. I mean, you could consider the Cavs team that they had, but I think like predominantly what everybody would be interested in is that Miami Heat team and what he would have had there with Ray Allen, D-Wade, Chris Bosh, Udonis Haslem, Mario Chalmers,
Shane Battier.
I feel like I'm missing somebody, but it's all right.
I definitely believe that Jordan would have probably had more championships if he had the amount of stars that LeBron had on his team. I mean, I look at that Miami team. Let's look at that 2011 Dallas team. No disrespect to them. Dirk was on another level that year. But, I mean, again, you know, that series was lost because of LeBron's mere 3 points a game in the fourth quarter, that entire series. Michael Jordan's not doing that. You know, there's no facts or there's no history of playoff series, especially the finals, where he does not show up. He was carried in the fourth quarter by a teammate. Like I said earlier, he wanted all the smoke. So I look at it as, you know, you put him in that series, I don't think Dallas wins that championship. I definitely believe Jordan and them get it done. It's the same thing against Oklahoma City the following year. I think it would have been interesting to see how he would have fared against the Spurs because I don't want to discount Greg Popovich's defensive ability and mindset. Definitely because, I mean, again, he kind of set the blueprint of how to guard LeBron. He made LeBron shoot that whole entire series, 2013 as well as 14, and in the 07, because he said you want to beat LeBron, you make him a jump shooter. So and again, the facts to prove that is look at LeBron's shooting percentage outside of the paint in those series, and you know then I can rest my case there. And so when you look at that, it would have been very, very interesting to see how you know Jordan would have played with the amount of talent that LeBron has had throughout his career. But at the same time, like I keep saying this, and I think it's so important is mentality as well as chemistry, because we're not going to discount the fact that the reason why that Miami Heat team was so successful was because of the relationship between Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Like I believe, I think they came into the league together at the same time. So you know, again, you have to also look at that aspect too. It's not always just skill.
I'll give him more time. Can you speak on LeBron James on those Bulls?
Oh, he said he'll give you more time. Okay. Right quick. Pops is in the chat. He said LeBron only really won 2 rings. The other 2 was given to him.
That's a wild.
He said Jordan's the only player in the NBA to go undefeated in the finals.
So
I'm just checking in with the chat, man.
So go ahead, Vince. You said
LeBron James on those Bulls teams.
So LeBron James on those Bulls teams, it would have been interesting because I think, LeBron has always been successful when he's had shooters around him.
That's because that's what the league asked for today.
But
you know what I mean?
Not necessarily, because in that 07 team, he had shooters around him.
So you're going to give him Craig Hodges, Steve Kerr, John Paxson, Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong,
so I guess
Ron Mercer.
But let me ask. Okay, let me kind of rebuttal and ask this question then. Are they allowed to? Listen. Are they allowed to shoot the same amount of threes that they are today?
They're allowed to do whatever it takes to win basketball games. Like, I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay.
Like, sure, they could do whatever it takes.
Then they probably would have been successful because those guys were excellent shooters. I'm just curious about how the fit of him and Pippen would have been, because they both are kind of point forward type players. So it'd have been interesting to see how Pippen would have had to play off of LeBron like that and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, I think as far as usage, Michael Jordan's usage actually went up in the playoffs versus the regular season. When it comes to the usage percentage, if you want to look at it from an analytical perspective. But, I mean, it just would have been interesting to see how Pippen would have fared and what his game would have translated into, knowing that he's not the one running the offense like he did when having Jordan next to him, because that's always been LeBron's game. LeBron has never, every time LeBron throughout his career has played with a ball-dominant guard, that team has not been successful.
Kyrie Irving? Dwayne Wade?
They're not ball dominant. Kyrie can play off the ball.
Kyrie Irving and Dwayne Wade aren't ball dominant point guards.
They play off the ball, and Dwayne Wade is not a point guard. He's a shooting guard.
Dwayne Wade is not a dominant guard.
No,
he's not a ball dominant guard.
He played off of LeBron.
Not the first go around when they lost to the
right,
Mavericks,
because
right?
he said to LeBron, I need you to be the guy.
I need you. One of the five best players in the league looked at LeBron and said, I need you to be the guy. You to be the guy, because I can't do it. Man. I can't.
Oh no, don't do that crap, because he did do it in 2006.
So he did do it, and he can do it. But he was like, these opponents are so much better. I need you to do it.
No, don't go there.
I'm asking you. I'm just shaking. I'm trying to get what you're saying.
No, he was saying that I need you to, because LeBron was standing on the sideline expecting Dwayne Wade to carry him to the championship. He's like, no, I need you to play your game.
Right.
That's how we got here.
So like the same way that
you're on the show next.
The same way that you're saying that, like, LeBron would be a weird fit next to Scottie Pippen. It's the same thing with Dwayne Wade and Michael Jordan. Like, they're the same player, like, as well. But for some reason, we can look past play styles and all that stuff, and like it still be great because Michael Jordan is doing it. If there's anything that we've seen of like the 10, 15 best players of all time, LeBron James is the most selfless player out of that whole list. He has no problem deferring to another guy. The Cleveland championship with it on the line, he looked at it, he said, let's get the ball to Kyrie, because LeBron James time and time again doesn't make the selfish play. He makes the best play to win the game. He goes, I will be a distraction if that's what it takes for us to get the best look, to have the best chance to win the game. So like, if he knows,
birthday boy, what up?
If he knows that Scottie Pippen has to have the ball to be successful, he has no problem playing off ball, because he did it with Dwayne Wade. He plays off ball with Kyrie Irving. He played off ball with Rondo in the Lakers series. He has no problem deferring to people if he needs to. Michael Jordan is the one that doesn't have to do it. He's the only one that's like, oh, I never did this, whatever. And it's like, if we want to talk about stat padding and things like that, I'm just saying, Michael Jordan, like we're saying, like hold on, because they're saying that he was undefeated in the finals and he never had to do this or whatever. Michael Jordan's career was not 6 years. It was 15 years. And out of those 15 years, there was a ton of times he did not make it to the finals. And he was getting blown out by other teams, but he would still put up 60. So that way people would be like, oh, like, yo, he put up this. Like, he's not, whatchamacallit. It's like, that is indeed stat padding as well. When you're getting cracked, but it's like, oh, I'm putting up points so people could say this. That series that you're talking about that LeBron James gave up on the Celtics, he still averaged 28, 8, and 8. But it was like, yo, but he gave up. How good is a player? It's like when you give up, you almost average.
All right, don't make me throw this flag. Ooh, it's getting heated in here. Is it still winter time? All right, listen. All right, we're gonna jump right into our next category. All right. So crack. So we are Miz again. All right. This one is a tough one. It's very controversial because A lot of times it dictates whether people decide whether to go with Bron or Jordan, or whether they decide to neglect it altogether and just say, I'm picking this person because they're my favorite or that's my era, whatever it is. We have to talk about it, and it's a topic of stats. All right, so I'll look up whatever y'all want me to look up. Clearly, we know LeBron is leading in points. I think he's like 4th in assists. We know Jordan's accolades as far as like MVPs, finals MVPs, championships. We know their stats and their accolades. All right. So I think my question is not how do they match up, and how much of a difference does it make in the argument? All right.
So you
Miz is smiling. Hold on, let me start his time. Go ahead, Miz. He's smiling right now.
You know what's funny?
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Watch this. And I don't even need my 3 minutes because this is how this is how it's a mic drop. Ready? You can go and y'all can do it yourselves. You can go on Wikipedia right now.
Okay.
And you can screenshot LeBron James's accolades and stuff like that, right? Okay. And it's one screenshot. It takes 2 to screenshot Jordan. I'm done.
So is that
you sure you giving up the rest of your time? You got 2:30 left.
That's a fact. I mean, you can go onto Wikipedia, and it takes one screenshot to get all of LeBron James's accolades and stuff like that. It literally takes 2 screenshots, and to show you, raise and prove to you that I am not capping when it comes to that.
I'm just waiting. Is his time done, or is he not? Is he taking his time? Or is he
it's his time.
He can do whatever he wants.
It's his time to do what he wants. It's his time to do what he wants.
I'm getting ready to pick this.
It's his time to do what he wants.
So this is LeBron James.
Okay.
One screenshot.
Somebody said, "Read us the facts." I'm pretty sure Joel got them lined
up. Read them off. Go ahead.
What's it say? Joel said, "Wiki ain't a source."
Wiki is definitely a source. He can go for it.
What, as far as you want me to read off?
Oh yeah, you got time. If that's what you want to use your time.
You want me to read off LeBron's stats?
It's up to you, man. You got a minute. You got a minute 30 left to do what you want.
I don't need to do all that because what I'm going to say is that when we look at it from a statistical standpoint,
okay.
I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that both players have not benefited from statting their pads throughout their careers. You know, I think every star has done that. In the case, but when you come to look at it, one of the things that I think will always be a blemish against LeBron is that you guys keep bringing up his size, but yet he's never averaged 10 rebounds for any point of his season. He's never done that, but yet he's the 6'8", 280 monster, and never once has he averaged more than 10 rebounds for a season.
Average 8.
So, okay, he averaged 8. Wow, that's great. What's the name? Okay, Jason Tatum is averaging 8 right now. Is he considered a monster, a great rebounder?
I don't want to say that, but like,
what
I'm saying, I don't want to step on his time. Go ahead, go for it.
So I mean, again,
respectfully.
That's what I'm looking at is that, like, okay, you're considered like this great guy, and like you're always under the basket. You know, for these rebounds and stuff, but yet you've never averaged over 10 for a season. So that's my whole argument when it comes to that. And as far as, you know, his assist and stuff, of course LeBron's going to average more assists because he's always been the point forward for his teams, you know, throughout his career.
Mm-hmm. All right, so hey, listen, we got from Joel. He said you can go on Snap and it'll take you 3 screenshots to get LeBron stats. K said Jordan changed the game, man. Everybody else had to just catch up, man. All right, people tuning in. Tuning in. All right, that's 3 minutes up for Miz. Hold on, let me reset this clock. And it's on Joel. I mean, I have a sub question as well, which you guys were kind of leaning into, but we'll go ahead, Joe. It's on you.
Do you want to give the sub question, or do you want me to just go?
No, we're gonna go, and I'll sub question y'all afterwards.
All right. Since you wanted to drop the mic, I guess I'll.
This man picked up the microphone.
This is the problem what happens with nowadays is, like, you can go on Wikipedia and you could just look at stuff, but like the problem that you're missing is context, because like, you know, like he does have more accolades. He's more on defensive teams. He has 1 more MVP. He has more scoring titles. 2 more MVPs, and he has like 10 scoring titles. LeBron James has 1.
I like
so
that,
on and
Joel.
so forth.
I like
These things are true. The context to it is, who are these other people that you're going against? So like, if you want to look at like the MVP race and stuff like that, like Before him, it was Larry Bird. It was Magic Johnson. During his run, Karl Malone got one. Charles Barkley got one. Correct? Like, these are what you would call it. These are the MVP people. These are the people who were getting MVPs around LeBron James. Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Let's see who else. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic. Seems to be like an infinite better of competition that he has to go against. LeBron James is not a scorer first. He had to go against guys such as Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony, some of the best scorers we've ever seen in the game. Michael Jordan was dominating an era that was dominated by big men. He was the only superstar guard during that time, so he's going to get on these teams. It's the same argument that I have, like, we're like, well, Kobe Bryant's got 10 all-first team defensive. I'm like, who are these other people that, like, we're supposed to get these all-defensive things? Because, like, LeBron James has played against guys who, like, that was their specialty. Guys like Kawhi Leonard, guys like Marcus Smart, Ron Artest, Marc Gasol, Tyson Chandler. Like, these guys, like, that's what they do, is, like, their thing is defense, so they're going to get them. LeBron James has gotten votes. He finished top 2 or top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, I believe, 4 different times. The 2010 Miami Heat version of LeBron James is one of the most, like, insane players in any way, shape, or form on both sides of the floor. And yes, LeBron James.
We can have that talk, Joel.
So, like, you know, and when you want to talk about, like, why he doesn't get so many rebounds, is because he has to play on the perimeter so often, and the game is so much more spaced out. That's why he hasn't averaged 10. He's averaged 8. I don't think, like, Michael Jordan's averaged what, like 4? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then, like, Jordan, like, as far as, like, assist wise, it's like
20 seconds.
He has the ball in his hands just as much as LeBron James does, but, like, LeBron James is a pass first guy. That's just his whole thing. Accolades wise, all I'm saying is, like, the competition was far more stiff in LeBron James' era than it was in Michael Jordan's era. It was very clear that, like, nobody else was really, like, on his time. And it's just like, it's not
time
because
is correct.
So my only rebuttal to the pass first.
Hold on, let me do a chat check-in right quick. All right, so we got G said LeBron is an all-time scoring leader, and he's never had a top 10 scoring season.
He actually won a scoring title one time.
One time. Okay, there you go. G scored it one time. My homie Joel in the IG chat said, we're literally comparing a red Lambo to a yellow Lambo. Kind of ironic that one played for the Bulls is red, and LeBron,
I think that was the point.
LeBron plays for.
Didn't he finish second last year in for the scoring champion behind Joel Embiid?
He actually technically won it, but because he didn't play enough games, they had to give it to Joel
Embiid.
So
there goes some there goes some facts for you. All right, all right. Rebuttal time. Go ahead.
No, my only rebuttal to the pass first thing. I was actually listening to a YouTuber the other day, and you know he actually debunked that argument of LeBron being a pass first player, because I think he said the out of all the, I think in the top 50 of people in the all-time assists, LeBron has, like, I think maybe 150 more shot attempts than those individuals. And so, I mean, again, and he has more shot attempts as far as versus assists. There's a shot attempt to assist ratio than Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant is known as a scorer, and Kobe Bryant has a better assist to shot ratio than LeBron does. So, I mean,
who's this YouTuber? Are we citing sources right now? Like, who's this?
Yeah, I can. If you want to follow him, he's a great. Actually, I've sent you a couple of his videos. Crack. His name is.
We're going against those videos. That's what
yeah, I've sent you a couple.
Those might as well be Trump videos. It just.
We're not going to. But I mean, you asked me for my source. I'm giving it to you. So I mean, again, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, you can send me stuff. I'll listen to it. And I'll rebuttal, but, like, I send stuff to you, and it's it might as well be a Trump thing. It's like, let's be fair about it.
When you send me stuff, do I not watch the whole video and then I talk to you about it?
But you said you always say to me,
I just asked you a question. It's a simple yes or no question.
He's biased towards Kobe.
I'm asking you a very simple question. When you send me stuff, do I not watch the whole video and then, like,
honestly,
discuss what was in the video?
Honestly, I don't know. Because
now you don't know.
I don't.
Should I cite my sources and, like, our messages?
I'm not with you.
I'd be like, hey, I watched this video and I was like, it seems like XYZ is like they're not really saying anything. and then like you'll just send me another video instead of responding to it. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna ask you. LeBron's a leader and Jordan was a superstar.
I'm gonna ask you real quick. When you look at LeBron James, because you watch the basketball games, do you think he's more of a score first or a pass first player?
This feels like entrapment.
I honestly, I think it depends on the game.
So he can be either or.
Yeah. But I'm saying as far as him being considered just a pass first player, that's where I'm like, I disagree with that. He's not a pass first player.
But he is a pass first player. He's just not just a pass first player.
He can be a pass first player if it's necessary. Like again, and he said it himself, like, you know, there's been series that I don't know what exact series, but there's been series where he's like, I want to get my teammates going. Like I like to look for K-Love early to get him going, you know, because I know I can go and get mine. So it's just like,
I know where this is going.
So when you look at it from that aspect, like, okay, but like to sit here and say that he's like that his game is pass first, that's where I disagree, because there's more shot attempts to assists.
The thing that you were talking about, right? You were like on the list of like the top 50 greatest like passers or assisters like of all time. Mm-hmm. Those are mostly point guards and things of that nature, right? So LeBron James is like one of the only like wing players that is like on that list.
Pretty much, yeah.
So like what I'm saying is like he's so much of a pass first player that he's in a list of just pass first guys, and he's almost near the top. And the only time that you can say that he's not when it comes to like as compared to guys whose job is strictly pass, like our John Stockton types, our Chris Paul's, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. He's the one. He's on that list with those guys, but then he's also the leading scorer, like on his team, right?
You're just where this was going.
Yeah, but you're not hearing my point.
You're saying that he's not just a pass first player.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. When people say LeBron James, oh, he's a pass first player. No, he's also a scorer. He's more known for his scoring.
If I work and I'm a judge during the daytime and I'm a chef at nighttime, and someone's like, "Yo, he's not a chef. He's not a judge because he's a chef." It's like, no, I'm both. I could be both of these things, right? I could be a chef and I could be a judge.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying.
I'm more than just one thing.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. I am saying when people talk LeBron James, mostly in the media, they always go to, oh, he's a pass first player. Like, no, he's a scorer.
Do you want to know why that's the notion that he's a pass first player?
Why is that?
Because like he's shown like in certain situations, most situations, if it comes down to it and he needs to make the pass, he'll make the pass instead of trying to take the difficult shot to try to play hero ball, because that's not what LeBron James is. He's not a hero baller. If he can give the ball to somebody else, I think a prime example is we can go to when they had the Golden State Warriors in the one in 2017, I think it was, and the game was on the line, and he gave the ball to George Hill, and George Hill got fouled, and he missed both free throws, and then J.R. Smith with the knucklehead call of the century, and they wound up going into the overtime and losing. And everybody was like, why didn't LeBron James take that shot? It was the smartest. I literally put George Hill, an 80% free throw shooter, on the line with the to make this thing, and he blew it. And like LeBron James made that play. Jordan would never make that play. He would rather miss and have them lose than to make a play like that. And like, so when things like that happen, they're like, he's more of a pass first guy. When his first couple of years in Cleveland, when they were saying that he lacked a killer instinct and thing of that nature, it was because he would go into the paint, he would do everything, and then he would kick it out to somebody, and they'd miss the shot. And they'd be like, how come LeBron James should have just took that shot? Like, why is he putting the game like in these other people's hands? Because you're not supposed to do that, because Jordan would never do that. Like, it makes no sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
All right. We're going to get into our last topic. Before we do, I'm going to take a question from the chat. So the homie Ken said, if as a coach, if you were a coach and you start in your team, or maybe you got your team and you need that one last player, are you taking LeBron or are you taking Jordan? I'm pretty sure I know what y'all answers are, because you wouldn't be arguing for the person you're arguing for.
Would a team of 5 LeBrons be the team of 5 Jordans?
I actually seen somebody do that on 2K. They didn't show what the results were though. A team of 5 LeBrons, would they beat a team of 5 Jordans? That's a tough question. Kid, I don't have an answer. I don't know who I'm gonna take, man. I think it depends on which team I'm playing. I
think it's without a doubt, because I feel like whatever I put around LeBron James, like is like as a competent GM, like it's gonna wind up being good. It's not 100% the case with Jordan.
G tried to argue your point about LeBron. He said, "Ask Steve Kerr about being put in that position to win."
Or John
Exactly.
Paxson.
Or John Paxson.
Or John Paxson.
That's what I mean. It's like there's been times where like these other guys have happened, but like we don't say Steve Kerr bailed out Michael Jordan. We don't say John Paxson bailed out Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen bailed out Michael Jordan. But Ray Allen hits a shot, and everybody's like, Ray Allen bailed out LeBron James.
But did you hear out my point earlier? He turned the ball over twice in that last possession.
That same quarter, he scored 22 points to put them in the game. He was the only reason they were in the game.
Okay, but you turned the ball over twice and you missed a jumper.
People miss shots. Like, that's what happens. Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how many points did Ray Allen have that game?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because then it's like he didn't bail him out. He did what players are supposed to do.
At that time was not what was
J-Dub. What up? You know where we at, J-Dub.
Listen, nobody says Derek Fisher bails out Kobe Bryant. Robert Horry bails out Kobe Bryant. Shaq bails out Kobe Bryant because that's what their jobs are. That's what they're supposed to do. He at the time was the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history.
I've heard many a times people say Robert Horry bailed out Kobe Bryant.
All right, the one thing that you could pick about what I said, you could go on that like if you want to. But what I'm saying is like that's what these guys were supposed to do. Yes, LeBron James missed a shot right before that happened. Before that, you know who was missing shots? Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Shane Battier.
We're not talking about them being the greatest of all time.
Why does like his 20 points? Why does his 20 points before that?
Please show me a moment. Please show me a moment in the finals where Jordan nearly cost them the game.
I can tell you a moment that's not in the finals because they got eliminated in the first round when Nick Anderson ripped Michael Jordan. Nick Anderson ripped him.
What about when LeBron lost first round to Phoenix?
Time out. Because we're going down the rabbit hole, all right? Okay? We're going to lead us one there. All right?
I just want to say this. Like, every time that I ask a question, all he does is go, but what about this? But what about this? But he never actually answers the questions of, like, the things that I'm talking about.
Okay, but because
what about this? But what about this? It's like, that's only proving the point that, like,
I hit it right back to you. You just
No, because you're just throwing it up. You don't answer a question with a question. You got to answer the question first and then ask your question. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I don't want to what you call it. I know we're trying for time.
Yeah, we got our last topic. And we get up out of here. All right. I want to make sure I'm gonna bring it up because I want to make sure I got it right. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, Nick put a fax in there. I don't know who the fax was for, but I'm pretty sure he'll put in there who it was for. Nick, let us know who you chiming in for. Given everything, all right. Jordan, his accolades, his run, his rings. LeBron, his accolades, his run, his rings. Like if we're talking contribution to the game of basketball, like who weighs better or who weighs more, I would say, and how does that contribute to their GOAT candidacy? And over time, when they're no longer playing anymore, how would those stories be told? Is that too much of a question?
I just think it's a pretty easy question. I feel like without a doubt, it's Michael Jordan. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so, like, I don't know, like, how much we really want to get into that.
Let's hear it.
Is it on me or is it on this?
Nope. He went stats and accolades, so it is on you.
Well, like I said, I think it's without a doubt, it's Michael Jordan. Like, you know, if it wasn't for Magic and Larry to put the game on the front thing, and then he took it and then went to the next level with it. If like LeBron James, like his legacy, I guess like what we're going to put on is like, what does it come down to? It's the empowerment of the player. And it's like Michael Jordan showed us like what greatness looks like, how to become a brand, how to like turn these things global and things of that nature. Like LeBron James has kind of just been in that same stratosphere and has just kind of just run with that. And like he's like, what can we do with our platform besides just play basketball? That's like what LeBron's legacy is going to end up being. Because like I know it's not really a thing on here, but it's like we're going to talk about like who's a better person off the court. Like it's pretty clear like who that person is. And it's like that's what like LeBron James has really shown is like outside of basketball, who are you? Or like what can you do? And it's like the building schools, giving voices or platforms to the voiceless and things of that nature. Like that's what it really comes down to. But like Michael Jordan, his impact is seen like he was I don't want to say he's the first, but he was like the first to perfect like a lot of things. It's like how to do your own branding, how to become more than just an athlete where he was like, he was in Space Jam, he was in all this other stuff. He became an icon before all that stuff. So like everybody now was trying to emulate Jordan. I don't know if there's going to be a player coming up that is going to emulate LeBron James. Like, what I mean? Because it's hard to do, where it's just like, how do you become like this Swiss Army knife type person where it's just like everybody wants to do the Jordan mentality, or like how to be like the ruthless, like the killer, the things of that nature. Like we already see superstars today, like they're still talking about like, well, that was my favorite player growing up. I patterned my game after MJ. Now we're seeing a bigger run of people saying that like Kobe was their guy. I don't know what it looks like, because like the players that have come in LeBron James era, like they've all been pretty transformational. So like now we're seeing the run of the people want to be Curry, people want to be KD, people want to be these things. It's like it is tough for a person to want to try to emulate that. So like when it comes down to it, I think it's not even close. Like Michael Jordan is easily more influential than LeBron James.
Okay. In the chat, before we get to B Miz, we got from Pops, Michael Jordan changed the game of basketball, and LeBron contributed to that change. That's very well said from the OG. And Nick said also social media was mentioned about highlights, but Jordan has his shoes that and a ton of commercials. So yeah, that definitely does matter. And there's a movie coming out all about that too. All right, Miz, it's on you, man. Who you picking?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's really no rebuttal to that, because I agree with everything that Joey said. Because I mean, again, we can look at that dream team. When they went over, forgot exactly where they were, but when they went
Barcelona,
and they went over there, and just the hype. You got all these greats, getting off the bus, but everybody's there to see MJ. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like his impact, from a global status. I don't know if that will ever be matched, in any sport. That's just what it is. But one thing that I will give LeBron that edge over is not being afraid to discuss certain issues going on, in our world and in our nation. Whereas Jordan kind of more so stuck to basketball. Not saying he didn't, talk about anything, but I will give LeBron the edge on, wanting to discuss, political issues and stuff like that. And not being afraid to take on those tough discussions. As far as the whole, school thing and stuff like that with LeBron, my only rebuttal to that is that, the only thing I did not like about that from a media standpoint is they're making it seem like, he was the first player to ever do that. There's been many of NBA players that have opened schools for kids and have contributed to society that way. It just wasn't publicized like, LeBron's school was, So, I mean, again, and you actually had like a lot of legends and stuff like kind of speak out about that. Like, how come we didn't get the same sort of notoriety that, he's getting for the opening the school? We've been doing that, you know what I mean? And so, so that's my only thing with that. I mean, again, I don't, fault him for that at all. I mean, that's more so the media's fault, but, but other than that, that's the only thing that I feel, LeBron has the edge over MJ is when it comes to not being afraid to discuss political views and do that. So
I don't think Jordan was afraid. I just think he wasn't with it. He did not care. Oh man. Jerry said, I also think everybody from Jordan's era would pick MJ as the GOAT, and the kids from today would split and they would get to watch Bron live. Yeah, so it definitely is a conversation of era.
I think of course they pick the person that they want because they want to say that they played against the best.
Right.
Plus, like there's also like the bias of like nostalgia and things like that of like when I was there. It's like the same where people are just like, oh, Star Wars is the greatest movie of all time. It's like, yeah, because you saw it when you were 6.
Yeah, it's like,
if you watch it now, it's like it's not the greatest movie of all time. Like it's like things change with time. They get better. Things evolve.
It's like old hip hop heads against new music today. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, it's not hip hop of old. But I get it. One thing I will say is this was fun. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, that's the last one. That was the last one.
Okay.
All right, because I listen, man. I made sure to keep this together because if not, y'all have not seen how this goes unadulterated, uncensored, unrefereed, we would have been here another 2 hours.
Can we get like a chat vote, like a live vote or something like that? Like who thinks like who won type of deal? Like, can we get that at least?
Oh yeah, I mean,
like,
people have
like what, 5 people in here right
people
now?
have already been putting. Well, we was up to like 7 or 8. It fluctuated, but it's like people have been putting it in the chat the whole time, and I'm pretty sure all these comments go on there once the video posts to YouTube. But
are there any comments in there that we should speak on before we turn this off?
LOL. Thank you. Seems like you would have gotten crazy. It definitely would have gotten crazy, Fredo. Trust me and believe me. Firsthand. All right, firsthand. But yeah, a lot of people are agreeing, like, and some they're pro Jordan, some they're pro Bron. But everybody's saying that you guys both did a great job. You know what I mean? They say it was super entertaining. So it feels like we're gonna have to do this again.
Can I make a closing statement?
We're both gonna get closing arguments.
It's not even an argument. It's just a statement.
Okay, closing statements. I would definitely give you closing statements. But yeah, I feel like I'm not gonna make my choice because you already know who I'm going with. I've said it several times on the pod already, but I think that both of them are super influential in the game, and just the way they carry themselves as men is just good to see people like that. One vote, Bron James, Fredo. They about to start voting. All right, so yeah, we'll go closing statement here. We'll go closing statement here, and then we'll get up out of here. Go ahead, Joey.
I just want to go out like on a limb here, and I just want to state, at no point in time has LeBron James ever been my favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
I like there's no bias in that point in time, like in my argument. If anything,
well said,
I was
Jordan.
Easily a Michael Jordan fan for like most of like my life. As much as like I love the Pistons and things of that nature, it was undeniable how cool Michael Jordan was, and it was like he was my favorite player, and I thought he was the greatest player of all time until a point. And the only time that I ever really questioned it was right up into the 2018 finals with when they made the 3-game comeback against the Warriors. I was just like, is LeBron James? I was like, did he just kind of take it?
2016.
2016, when it was just like, I was just like, is this? I was like, am I watching the greatest player of all time right now? And I feel like at that point in time, it kind of became even. And then like he kind of took like later on, it came something else happened, and I was just like, no, this is the greatest player of all time. And there's so many things that are nuanced to it, right? Because people will do the thing, rings. If that's it, oh, look at that.
Dre just put mad rings in the chat.
It's everything compiled into one, right? Because Bill Russell has the most rings. He's not considered the greatest of all time. And if anybody remembers correctly, after the first three-peat, as soon as he won 3 in a row, at that point in time, Michael Jordan, they were saying, was the greatest player of all time. So with only 3 rings, people were already saying this is the greatest player like we've ever seen. Then he retired, came back, won 3 more of them things. No denying that. He was widely considered the GOAT before he even completed his legacy, because people could see what it was. And I feel like that's what it is with LeBron James as well. And like that's the thing to me, is just like, yes, he doesn't have as many rings as these people. He doesn't have these many scoring titles. But it's like, you can't tell me that if I was to build a perfect basketball player, it would not be LeBron James. I feel like he can play in any era. I feel like he can dominate in any era. I feel like there's no point in time where like LeBron James is a bad or out of date player. And I don't think Jordan is a bad or out of date player. I just think the level of where he at drops depending on where you put him. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I wonder, it's like, where have we seen like these type of players? And I know that like the easy comparison to Jordan is Kobe Bryant. And everybody's like, Kobe Bryant is the one-to-one thing for Michael Jordan. Like that's what he looks like in today's era. I would argue that the Dwayne Wade that we got in 2008, I think it was, when he was going insane, I was like, this is the closest thing of what Michael Jordan looks like in today's era. And it was amazing. Like it was outstanding.
Are you talking about when he won the championship?
No, that was 2006. It was like a year or two after that where he was up for MVP, and I think he ended up getting hurt towards the end of the season and stuff like that. But it was like he was on this tear that it was unlike anything that I've ever seen. I was like, these are Michael Jordan's baskets in today's game. And like that's just like my whole thing is like I think Michael Jordan is the second greatest player of all time. LeBron James is number 1. I understand the argument for both sides, but I think like when people argue for one over the other, the disrespect for LeBron James gets a lot more crazier than the disrespect for Michael Jordan. I think LeBron James done about the same thing with better competition and things being more stable and everything being better. So like to me, that makes him better.
Okay. Dre reiterated a point saying that he thinks if Bron had MJ's killer attitude, it wouldn't even be a debate.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I kept, referring to mentality. But like, my thing as far as, and you know what, maybe down the road, like, Crack and I can have a debate, discussing, championship runs. Because I think that would be interesting, because my only argument against the 2016 championship is, again, Draymond doesn't get suspended for game 5. Do they still go into Golden State and get that win? That's just my only argument, because again, and trust me, I am not a Draymond Green fan. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's overrated. But I mean, again, I'm not going to discount the fact that he was an important piece of that team. He was their defensive anchor. So you take him out, and we're not going to also discount the fact that Kyrie Irving also scored 40 that game in game 5. So I'm not going to, take that away, because you take away Kyrie's 40, did the Cavaliers win that game 5? So, I mean, again, we have to look at those things as well. As far as, his runs against, Crack has said, and him and I have had our back and forths about the KD Warriors, and are they the greatest team of all time?
Without a doubt.
But I mean, again, my whole thing is, when I look at that 2018 Warriors team, 2 times they were given tough series. Like the LA Clippers had nobody, that first round, and they went 6 games with them. And then again, if Chris Paul does not go down, they literally had the Warriors on the ropes. They were up 3-2 and had them on the ropes, and then CP3 goes down. Again, they're out, and then they get to the finals and they smoke LeBron in 4. So, I mean, again, so you're going to sit here and say, how much better was that Cavaliers team than that Clippers team that took those same Warriors 6 games, but yet LeBron can't get 1 game?
Did Michael Jordan play against a team that had a Chris Paul and James Harden?
Listen, first of all, I didn't rebuttal anything that you said. I'll let you talk. So my thing is again, when you look at, and that's why I kept saying matchups. Could have been interesting to see, because everybody glossed over LeBron's run, in the 2010s to the finals. And so, and that's my thing. It's just like, okay, but like, who was he playing on his way there? And then it's just interesting to me that, we're making all these excuses for him getting swept in 4, or losing in 5, or losing in 6. But it's just like, okay, if you would have played the teams that you lost to, who they played, on their way to the finals, do you even get to the finals? That's my whole argument towards that, is that why does Patrick Beverley, I mean, if you can name at least one All-Star on that Clippers team in 2018, I'll be impressed by that. But that team was literally a bunch of role players that came together and played well enough to get that 8th seed, and they literally took those Warriors 6 games. And then again, you get LeBron in the finals, who's supposed to be the GOAT and the best players, and you can't get 1 game, just 1. So
this is also the game that we're talking about with the George Hill and J.R. Smith.
But I'm saying you finish it.
The one where he averaged 51, where he got 51 points in a triple-double, and led everybody in all statistical categories.
And finish it.
That one?
No. He that was 2016. I don't think he led in all statisticals in 2018.
You might want to double check that, because I believe that he might have.
I don't think, not in 2018, maybe 2016.
That was when he was playing with Timothy Mozgov, Tristan Thompson.
No.
J.R. Smith, Kevin Love.
That was 2015. Mozgov was a 15 team.
Okay. But like what I'm saying.
No, because again, and that's another argument, because he had Jordan Clarkson, who's in Utah balling right now. He had Rodney Hood, who was a good role player. He had K-Love, who was, again, in Minnesota, a monster. He had, who else? He had Tristan Thompson, who was averaging double-double. He had, I don't think that Cavaliers team. I can't remember if they had Ricky Rubio. I don't think they had Ricky Rubio that time. I know they do now. But again,
they had Matthew Dellavedova.
No, they didn't have Delly at that time. Delly left after the 2016 championship.
They had George Hill.
the George Hill, who again, George Hill was a part of that 2014 San Antonio team that smoked LeBron in 5 games. So I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. And when you look at who he played on his way to the championship, again, it's just like I don't know if I can give him all that much credit when you had teams that shouldn't have even been given Golden State competition, giving them competition, and that's my only argument towards that.
Who did the Bulls play, bro? Who did the Bulls play?
Hey, we appreciate y'all spending this time with us, all right? We appreciate y'all spending this time with us. It's been fun.
This bro had to hit a game winner over Craig Elo.
Still got flag on the play.
First flag.
Craig Elo.
Couldn't end the day without a flag, huh?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? We gotta end on a bang, right?
Gotta end on a bang. But yeah, we appreciate y'all spending this time with us, man. We did get a few votes. Right now it is even at 2 for 2. But we're gonna continue to.
Can I ask one question before we go?
Yes.
Is there anything that LeBron James could do with the remainder of his career that would make you be like, this is the greatest player of all time?
Like 6 rings.
If he just won these next 2 rings in a row,
that would be wild.
Honestly, if he because you know what, and I was thinking about this, Crack, and I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm gonna say this.
Yes, he did.
Honestly, to me, the better debate we should have had, honestly, is LeBron Kobe.
It's not even a debate. LeBron's better than Kobe.
But that's what I'm saying, because I could argue Kobe is better than LeBron. I could argue that. But that's what I'm saying, because again, when we look at it from that aspect, that's my only thing, and I actually wanted to debate you on that, because that's what I'm saying. Like right now, I have LeBron 3rd in my all-time list. I have him 3rd, huh?
So then your list is wrong.
Because I have MJ. I
asked him a very specific question.
Like that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I have him
in charge.
I have MJ Kobe. So if he was to win these next 2 championships, then I would put him above Kobe. But he still wouldn't be better than Jordan to me.
My question to you was, what could LeBron James do to be the greatest of all time? Would he be better than Kobe?
He would have to win about 3 or 4 in a row.
He'd have to win 3 or 4 in a row?
3 or 4 more championships in a row.
All right.
Why is he saying like he looked into the future, like, I'll see you in 3 or 4 years?
So like LeBron would need 7 championships to whatchamacallit. For you, he needs to win more championships.
Because I believe he's underachieved with the amount of help he's had on his team.
I would argue the other. I would argue the forward. Because it's like we didn't really get into it, but it's like LeBron James's teams have been the underdogs a number of times in the finals. Jordan's teams were never underdogs because their teams were better. And
so that Miami Heat team was an underdog every series?
No, but like the whatchamacallit, the first Miami team, they were the favorite. The second time they were the underdog because Dwayne Wade was hurt and things of that nature. Against Dallas, they were the favorite and then they lost. But like almost all the other times, every Golden State Warriors won. The Golden State were the favorites. When they went against the San Antonio Spurs with the Cavaliers, the Spurs were the favorites.
Well, he never played them. Oh, you're talking about 07.
Yes.
Okay, 07.
They were the favorites.
No, I'm talking about. Let's scratch out the 07 because again, we've already discussed that. I'm talking about when he left to Miami and he began creating super teams.
Which by the way, it was only 4 years. It was only 4 years.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Out
of his 20-year career.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking ever since he began forming super teams, what years was he considered the underdog? That 2007
against the Warriors.
That 2017 Warriors team, I can understand that.
GSE time.
They were loaded. I can remember that they were loaded.
Yeah.
But the 2018 team, yeah, I would also agree with that because again, like I just stated, they really didn't have a shot in that series because, like I said, if LeBron had a different mentality, then maybe they do, give them more of a series. Because again, that to me, I'm just still blown away.
Michael Jordan
Clippers
has never won as an underdog. LeBron
I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, y'all turning back the clock. All right, I love it. I knew this was not going to be the end of this debate. I'm pretty sure we'll still have this conversation. And especially as the years go on, as LeBron keeps playing, it'll be more ammunition to add to the fire. But I'm going to let you guys get out of here, all right? I'm even getting text right now saying, great show. Somebody said you was wrong.
Oh, which one?
They text you in the group chat too. You'll see it. But listen, we appreciate y'all spending y'all time with us, man. Crack, B-Miz, mate. I went the wrong way. Crack, B-Miz. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all the best, man. All right. We definitely got to find more stuff for us to debate like this because it is a good time. It is fun. I'll continue to structure it. I'm going to have a whistle next time, too. I'm going to get me a little Foot Locker shirt.
You said you could whistle.
Huh? I
I didn't think you needed to do it.
No, I can whistle. I just couldn't whistle over y'all because y'all was passionate. Y'all was passionate, all right? But I just want to make sure that, hey, we stay locked in. We got a new episode of the pod coming this week. So check out your boys, all right? Appreciate y'all.
Damn, it's fucking passed off. Shit.